Did Shay just expose Tiny's darkest family secrets in court? The moment that shocked the world is finally here. In a courtroom thick with tension, Shekinah stands and reveals a side of Tiny's family no one ever saw coming. What if everything we thought we knew about Tiny's world was a lie? What if the people closest to her were hiding secrets that could destroy everything? Tiny, once seen as a symbol of strength and success, now finds herself at the center of betrayal, heartbreak, and scandal. What began as a personal conflict has turned into something much deeper, a web of hidden truths that could tear her family apart. Once known for their tight-knit bond, Tiny's family now seems to be crumbling from within. The truth is darker than anyone imagined, and it's unfolding in front of millions. But what drove Shekinah to expose these secrets? Was it a desperate cry for attention, or something even more sinister beneath the surface? The courtroom is in chaos, and the world is watching. The truth is about to come out, and it's not pretty. The courtroom is packed, the air heavy with tension. On one side, Tiny sits straight-backed, her face calm, but her eyes betraying the turmoil within. Her thoughts race, every heartbeat pounding in her ears. Across the room, Shekinah sits composed and quiet, her posture relaxed but her gaze cold and unflinching. Once inseparable friends, the two women now stand on opposite sides of a battle that will change their lives forever. Tiny never thought this day would come. She had always believed Shekinah was family, a sister in every sense of the word. Their bond was built on laughter, struggles, and years of trust. But now, it feels like that bond is nothing more than a fragile thread about to snap. For weeks, Tiny had tried to ignore the whispers, the rumors spreading like wildfire. The tabloids had exploded with speculation. Shekinah had been hinting at something big. Tiny's family name was being dragged through the mud. The accusations were vague, but the message was clear. This wasn't just another celebrity feud. It was personal. Tiny kept telling herself it was all just noise, smoke and mirrors. But today, sitting in that courtroom, she knows the truth is about to crash down. Shekinah, once Tiny's most trusted confidant, has made her choice. She's decided to expose what's been buried for years. And no matter how much Tiny tried to prepare herself, nothing could brace her for what's coming next. The judge's gavel hits the block with a sharp thud. The room falls silent. Every eye turns to Shekinah as she rises to take the stand. The tension is suffocating. The crowd holds its breath, waiting as the truth begins to unfold. There was no hesitation in her steps, no trace of nerves from someone about to expose such high-stakes secrets. Her expression was unreadable, as if she had already made peace with the chaos she was about to unleash. As Shekinah took her seat, she gave a small, almost imperceptible glance toward Tiny. That brief moment of eye contact sent an involuntary chill down Tiny's spine. It wasn't a look of anger or regret. It was something far more dangerous: determination. Shekinah was ready to expose everything. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as she adjusted herself in the witness chair. The defense attorney wasted no time. "Miss Shekinah," he began, his voice calm but carrying the weight of the moment. "You've been asked to testify today regarding certain events within Tiny's family. We understand that you have knowledge of sensitive information. Can you please tell us what you know?" Shekinah nodded, her gaze steady on the lawyer. "What I know," she began, her voice cool but laced with something deeper, something darker, "is that Tiny's family is not what it appears to be." She paused, letting the words hang in the air. The courtroom froze, every person holding their breath. Tiny's heart skipped a beat. The air felt thick, almost suffocating. She had never imagined Shekinah would go this far. "The things that happen behind closed doors," Shekinah continued, her eyes flickering toward Tiny. "The secrets they keep, they're worse than you think. There's a reason Tiny has been so guarded about her family, and there's a reason no one ever really gets to know the truth. Today, the world will." Tiny's hands clenched tightly in her lap. Heat rose in her chest, a mix of anger, confusion, and disbelief. Was this really happening? Was Shekinah truly about to destroy everything she'd worked so hard to protect? The defense attorney pressed on. "Can you be more specific, Miss Shekinah? What exactly are these secrets?" Shekinah leaned forward slightly, her tone sharpening. Tiny's family isn't just dysfunctional, it's riddled with betrayal, greed, and lies. She paused again, making sure her words hit hard. Something has been hidden for years, a betrayal that cuts deeper than anyone realizes. Tiny's own sister has been secretly working with outsiders to profit off her name. And it goes deeper. There are deals, partnerships, things Tiny never knew about, things she never would have agreed to if she did. Tiny felt a wave of nausea hit her. Her own sister? The accusations were too detailed, too precise to dismiss as gossip. Shekinah wasn't just making wild claims, she was exposing something that had been buried from the public for years. The weight of it all pressed down on Tiny like a 1,000-pound load, suffocating her. The defense attorney continued, his voice now edged with disbelief. Are you saying that Tiny's sister was secretly profiting off her name without her knowledge? That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof of this? Shekinah's lips curled into a small, almost knowing smile. I don't need proof, she said coldly. All I need is for the truth to be heard, and the truth will set everyone free. Tiny's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. Shekinah had gone too far. This wasn't just a betrayal of friendship, it was an attack on her family. Secrets buried for years were now clawing their way to the surface. The room seemed to close in around her. Whispers rippled through the courtroom, the soft murmur of disbelief, the rustle of papers, the low hum of shock. Tiny's world, everything she had built, was crumbling right before her eyes. Shekinah's testimony wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. And it was only the beginning. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Tiny's mind raced as Shekinah's words echoed in her ears. Accusations, betrayal, her family, her closest relationships, laid bare like open wounds. For a moment, Tiny could barely process what had been said. She could feel the crowd's gaze, strangers, peers, everyone burning into her. The whispers grew louder, and in that moment, Tiny felt utterly alone. But she couldn't back down. Not now. Not when everything she had worked for was at stake. Tiny stood, trembling as the defense attorney motioned for her to take the stand. Her legs felt like lead. Each step was heavier than the last. She had to face Shekinah, to confront the lies and the secrets. Tiny had always been the one to keep her emotions in check, to project strength. But today, that image was cracking. As Tiny approached the witness stand, Shekinah's gaze never wavered. There was no remorse in her eyes, no hesitation. Tiny could feel the intensity of her stare as she took her seat, her heart pounding against her chest. The judge called for order as Tiny settled in. Her palms were slick with sweat as she gripped the edge of the stand. Her breathing quickened, but she fought to steady herself. She had to stay strong. She had to fight back. The defense attorney, who had been so quick to guide Shekinah, now turned his attention to Tiny. His expression was a mix of curiosity and doubt. It was clear he wasn't entirely convinced by Shekinah's claims, but he was ready to hear Tiny's side. Tiny, the attorney began, you've heard the accusations made against your family. Can you explain your side of the story? Is there any truth to what Shekinah has revealed? Tiny took a deep breath. The question felt crushing, but she had to answer. She had to defend herself. And her family. No, she said firmly, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. I don't believe Shekinah's accusations are true. Yes, we've had struggles. We've had misunderstandings. But to say my family is capable of that kind of betrayal, it's a lie. Her words felt like the only thing keeping her grounded. But even as she spoke them, doubt began to creep in. Could Shekinah really be lying? Could everything she said be fabricated? I don't know what her motivation is, Tiny continued, her voice trembling now. But I do know my family isn't perfect. We've had our issues, but this isn't who we are. She glanced toward her sister sitting in the back of the courtroom. Tiny could barely meet her eyes. Her sister's expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker of something. Guilt. Fear. Tiny couldn't tell. It was becoming painfully clear that her sister was involved somehow. But could it really be true? Had her sister been hiding something from her all along? The defense attorney pressed further. But what about Shekinah's claims that your sister profited from your name without your knowledge? Have you ever known about any of these deals? Any hidden partnerships? Tiny's heart sank. The thought of her sister secretly profiting off her name felt like a punch to the gut. She had trusted her sister with everything. But could Shekinah actually be right? Had Tiny been too blind to see what was happening behind her back? I don't know, Tiny admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I had no idea. If these things are true, then I'm just as much a victim as everyone else. But I swear I never knew about any of it. Her hands trembled, and she clasped them tightly together, trying to steady herself. Tiny had always prided herself on being in control, but this was something she couldn't control. She couldn't fix what was happening in that courtroom. She couldn't undo the damage that had already been done. And then, just when she thought she couldn't take any more, another bombshell dropped. The prosecution, silent until now, suddenly spoke up. The prosecutor stood, her voice calm but razor-sharp. Tiny, we've also received information about an alleged financial agreement involving your sister, a group of investors, and a series of transactions that could put your reputation at risk. How do you explain that? Tiny froze. The world seemed to tilt beneath her feet. She had no idea what the prosecutor was talking about. Was this part of Shekinah's manipulation? Or was this something else entirely? Had her sister really gone behind her back, making deals with people Tiny didn't even know? I don't know about that, Tiny stammered, struggling to maintain her composure. I had no idea any of this was going on. The prosecutor didn't relent. But how can you explain the evidence that's come to light? Are you saying your sister acted completely without your knowledge, without your approval? Tiny felt cornered. She could feel every pair of eyes in the courtroom locked on her, the weight of their judgment pressing down. The accusations, the so-called evidence, everything was starting to sound believable even to her. Her mind raced as she tried to piece it all together. She wanted to defend her sister, to defend her family, but the evidence against them was mounting. Could Shekinah have been right all along? In that moment, Tiny realized she was no longer in control of her own story. The truth, or whatever version of it was being told, was slipping through her fingers, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence, broken only by faint whispers. The tension was unbearable. The weight of what was coming next hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Tiny's heart pounded in her chest as the prosecutor's words lingered like a thick fog. The walls seemed to close in around her. Every eye in the room watched her every move, waiting for her to break. She could feel the evidence pressing down on her, undeniable, tangible, and damning. Shekinah's testimony had already shaken the very foundation of Tiny's world. But now, with the revelations about her sister's secret dealings, the hidden financial agreements, and the possibility of betrayal by those she trusted most, Tiny felt like she was sinking deeper into quicksand, with no way out. Tiny glanced over at her sister, who sat in the back of the courtroom, her face a mask of silence. She hadn't uttered a word during the entire ordeal, but Tiny could see it in her eyes. Something had changed. Her sister had always been her closest ally, the one who understood her better than anyone else. But now there was a distance between them, a coldness Tiny had never felt before. The prosecutor, sensing her vulnerability, pressed further. Tiny, this evidence isn't just a misunderstanding. These financial transactions have your sister's name attached. It's clear they've been happening right under your nose. How do you explain that? Was it all just a lie? Tiny's throat tightened. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words caught in her chest. How could she explain something she didn't even understand? How could she justify her own family's actions when she herself didn't have all the answers? I don't know, Tiny whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't know any of this was happening. A low murmur rippled through the courtroom. Tiny could hear the whispers of the spectators. Her reputation, built on years of hard work, sacrifice, and loyalty, was slipping away with every passing second. The betrayal was no longer private. It was public now. The world was watching. Tiny's mind raced as memories flashed before her eyes. The times she had trusted her sister completely. The late-night talks, the shared dreams, the plans for their future. She had always believed family would stand by her no matter what. But now, as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, Tiny realized how wrong she had been. What hurt the most wasn't just her sister's silence. It was the fact that Shekinah, the woman who had once been like a sister to her, was at the center of this storm. She had exposed Tiny's family's darkest secrets, revealing things Tiny never could have imagined. Now Tiny was trapped in the web of lies Shekinah had spun. She turned toward her sister, her eyes filled with anger, betrayal, and confusion. She wanted to demand answers, to scream why, but no words came. She had already said everything that needed to be said. The damage was done. The truth, or at least Shekinah's version of it, was now out in the open. And just when Tiny thought she couldn't take any more, another bombshell dropped. The judge, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "I've reviewed the documents presented in this case," he said gravely. "And I believe it's necessary to address the next crucial piece of evidence. This involves financial transfers that not only implicate Tiny's sister, but also several shady business partners who appear to have been tied to this operation for years. These connections may be key to understanding the full scope of the situation." Tiny's breath caught in her throat. Her sister? Involved with shady business partners? This was something far beyond her understanding. She had never imagined her family's name could be connected to anything like this: corruption, deception, and dishonesty. It was too much to bear. Shay sat across from Tiny, seemingly unbothered by the chaos unraveling around her. In fact, there was something almost triumphant in her expression, like she knew everything was unfolding exactly as she'd planned. Tiny couldn't understand how Shay could be so calm, so cold, knowing the pain she had caused. "Your Honor," the prosecutor continued, his tone sharp and unwavering. "We believe this connection between Tiny's family members and these outside investors could expose not only fraud, but also criminal activity. This isn't just family drama anymore. It's a matter of law, and it can no longer be ignored." Tiny's heart sank. Her family wasn't just going through a rough patch, they were tangled in something much darker. The legal implications were staggering. Tiny had no idea how deep the corruption ran. Was her sister really involved in illegal activity for years? Or had she been manipulated by someone else entirely? The judge finally motioned for a recess. The room fell silent as everyone tried to process the weight of what had just been revealed. Tiny's mind was spinning. Her sister was at the center of it all, and Shay's accusations now had evidence to back them up. How could Tiny fight something this massive? How could she protect her family from the storm that was coming? As the judge called for a break, Tiny rose to her feet, her legs trembling beneath her. She couldn't stay in that courtroom any longer, not with all those eyes on her, not with the truth pressing down on her chest. She needed air. She needed to think. Tiny rushed out of the courtroom, her heart racing. She didn't even know where she was going. She just knew she had to get away. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. And yet, despite the pain, despite the betrayal, Tiny couldn't shake the question that had been haunting her since the moment Shay took the stand. Who's telling the truth? Is Shay seeking revenge? Or is Tiny's family really hiding something dark? What will happen to Tiny now that her entire world is on the brink of collapse? We've seen the explosive revelations unfold, and this courtroom drama is far from over. But one thing's for sure, the truth is out there, and it's unraveling faster than anyone could have imagined. So what do you think? Is Shay justified in exposing Tiny's family? Or is this just a calculated move for revenge? Could Tiny's sister really be involved in these shady dealings? Or is she just another victim of betrayal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you believe? Was this betrayal orchestrated from within? Or is Shay twisting the truth for her own benefit? Let's keep the conversation going, because this story is far from over. Don't forget to hit that like button if you think the truth is way more complicated than it seems, and subscribe for more updates as this shocking story unfolds. The courtroom may be on break, but this scandal is only heating up. Stay tuned. The next chapter is coming soon, and it's going to be bigger than ever.